Hello again. This is Walter, the English Conversation Doctor, coming to you from Tokyo, Japan. And today we're going to be discussing the absolute best way to study any language. Now, before we get started, I know I have to warn you, as soon as I tell you about this, some of you are going to be like, "What? We don't believe this." But I guarantee you that this works, and it's a method that I recommend to a lot of my students because it's something that they've probably never thought about before, or no English school has ever really told you about. So, in order to get started, now I want you to sit down, make sure that you've got a good seat, and I'm going to just go ahead and tell you that the best way to study any language without traveling abroad and without having to spend a lot of money is actually playing English video games. Yeah, I know, I'll give you a few seconds to let that sit in. But it's actually true. This is actually the way that I study Japanese. So I'm going to break this down to you, and I'm going to let you know why video games, especially role-playing games, are actually the best way to study any language. Now, I did mention specifically role-playing games. If you're playing a game like Street Fighter or a driving game or racing game, you're probably not going to get so much English study out of it realistically. So the game that you should be looking for should be English games that are role-playing games or have some type of story. And we'll get into why this works later. But for those of you who are wondering why I recommend this study method, and it's a study method that I recommend to all of my students, especially for male students who are into like action adventure and who like to be a little bit more interactive with their language study. Now, the difference between playing video games and other study methods is this, and I really want you to think about it. When you read a book, you're getting a lot of vocabulary and you're getting grammar, but there's something that's missing from that study method. Also, when you're watching TV, you may be getting like vocabulary and grammar, but you don't really have a way of giving any feedback or seeing how much you understand about what you're watching or what you're reading. So reading and watching TV are very good study methods for improving your listening skills, improving your vocabulary, and improving your grammar. However, you are only getting one-way information. You're not able to give any feedback, and you can't talk to the TV. So you have no idea how much you actually understand about the program. And the same thing for reading a book. When you're reading a book, it's just one way, so you cannot interact with the book. And this is where video games are actually a step above for language study. Because video games have one key element, and that is they are interactive. So this interactivity makes a huge difference when you're actually playing around with your language study, because this allows you to see how much you understand the language. Now, the way that this works is video games being interactive means that when you're playing a game, you have to be able to understand the language. So you have to be able to hear and comprehend and read what's on the screen in order to play the game. Otherwise, you're not going to go anywhere and your character is just going to be sitting there like this. So you have to understand the basic rules at least. Then when you're actually playing the game, the characters will be talking, so you have to understand what's being said. Or you might have to read subtitles, so you have to understand what you're reading. So another factor is that when you're playing video games, you have to make choices. So when you're walking through the world and you're interacting with the game, your choices and the decisions that you make affect your character's ability to survive. So if I'm playing a game and I cannot understand the language, and the language says turn left, and I don't understand and I go right, my character is going to die. It's going to get eaten by some monster or something. Either way, I'm not going to be able to complete the game because I don't understand the language. Now, if you think about it, this is exactly like being a foreign exchange student. When you're a foreign exchange student going to a different country, you will experience some of the same things that your character experiences in a video game. You don't know the culture, you don't know where you're going, you may not speak the language, you might make mistakes, right? In the real world, however, your mistakes affect your real life. So it can cause stress. In a video game, like if I play and I don't understand the language and my character dies, well, it's just a game. So I can reset and I can start over, and it doesn't affect my real life. So I don't have any stress. And also, because I can reset, or because it helps me understand where I made a mistake. So I'm like, okay, there was text on the screen. I could not read that. I went this way, so I went to the left, but it actually meant go to the right. And this is how I start learning, like what these, in Japanese, what these kanji or what these words actually mean, because I'm interacting with them. I'm not just reading with them. I'm not just reading them or watching them. So that's the element of video games that make them a very effective study method. Also, because you're getting feedback. And also, well, why do you play games in the first place? Normally, you play a video game because it's fun. So, if something is fun, that probably means that you're going to continue doing it, right, until you're finished with it. If I gave you a choice between going to an English language school or sitting down with a textbook and studying English from a textbook, or playing Final Fantasy or another fun game, which would you choose? Most people would probably go for the game because, well, English study is boring, and textbooks are not interesting. They're not interactive. So, most people would probably go for the fun option. And that's the correct choice. The reason this is the correct choice is because if you are not interested in what you are studying, your brain shuts off and you don't learn anything. However, if you're interested in what you're watching or what you're reading or what you're playing, you will do that for hours and hours without even thinking about it. So, basically, it's the art of studying without studying. Now, and this is basically how children learn. Children don't study languages from textbooks. They don't study languages from teachers. They study languages by sitting there and watching TV and watching the same movie over and over and over again, or role-playing certain parts of the TV show. So, repetition. But basically, they're just studying by watching what they like. So this is a very important factor that a lot of adults tend to forget. So remember, if you're having fun, you learn more, basically. If you're not having fun, your brain cuts off after about 5 minutes. So on that point, video games are also addictive. So the average length of a role-playing game can be 14 hours to 144 hours. But if the game is interesting, you don't even notice the time that you're spending playing it. It's just you get off work, you want to go home, you want to play this game, and you stay up from 8 p.m. till 5 in the morning playing Final Fantasy trying to beat this boss. But while you're doing that, your brain is not even thinking about English study. You're just thinking, I need to beat this boss. And while you're doing that, your brain is getting so much information and you're absorbing so much knowledge from this game that you don't even think about it. So when it comes to English study, this is an important factor. You need something that you will do every day, or something that will be addictive to you. Something that you want to do, something that you like. You're like, okay, I'm off work. It's time for me to go play this game. And video games tend to have that effect. Just like watching some TV shows. Some girls in Japan go home and they watch TV dramas every day. Because they're basically addicted to them. But that's why their English language skills are so good, right? And that's why they sound almost like fluent English speakers. Because they do this every day. An important factor. Another thing about video games is that for them being interactive, a role-playing game has a story. So, you're not just randomly fighting monsters or something like that. It has a story, so that means that it has tasks for you to do. It also has people inside of the game. A lot of times you'll deal with NPCs, non-playable characters. These non-playable characters talk to you, have conversations with you, give you assignments, give you tasks, give you missions. This is just like speaking with a real-world person. Or even in the business situation, your boss does the same thing. He will give you an assignment. Okay, complete this report by Friday. Or he will give you a task. We need to make a budget by Wednesday. The NPC person in the game is doing the same thing. He's giving you an assignment. It might be a stupid assignment. Go kill this monster so that I can take his skin and make a wallet. But it's still the same concept. So if you don't understand the language, or if you don't understand what he's telling you, you cannot complete your assignment and you will fail the mission. Same thing with your job. If your boss gives you an assignment and you don't understand, you will fail the mission and you might get fired, right? So this is the same, you're basically using the same skill set that you use in daily conversation and in business, right? So talking to NPCs is just like talking to foreigners, or dealing with foreigners on the street. So you have to think about, when you think about playing a video game, or especially a playing game in English, you're basically living a life, living a new life, only in a game. And your life is completely in English. So you have to understand the language, otherwise you cannot win the game. And another point about video games is that video games do have a set goal. So you're not just kind of wandering around randomly, unless you're playing some MMORPG. Normally there's a story, and there's a mission, and there's a set goal. So at the end of this game, the goal is to beat this big boss, or to get this gem, or to rescue the princess, like Mario has done over and over and over again for the past 30 years, right? I think Princess Peach needs to start taking some Taekwondo lessons, right? But there is a mission, there is a goal. So because there's a goal, you have another element that makes video games so great for language study, and that is you have motivation, right? So you're like, I want to win. Winning is when you're playing a game, you don't play to lose normally. So your first motivation is probably, I want to win this game, right? Especially if it's interesting. But because there's a goal, or many goals in a role-playing game, you have different levels of motivation. I need to get this magic spell so that I can beat this boss. I need to get this much money so that I can buy this new weapon. I need to do so. You're constantly having goals and obstacles to clear. So this is very good for your language study. And like I mentioned before, when you're playing a game and you're having fun, do you feel stressed? Not normally, right? So video games are designed to be fun, interactive. I mean, nobody makes a game that's designed to be boring. If they did, it wouldn't sell, and I've never heard about it. So video games are designed to be fun. The language is designed to be easy to understand normally, because most games are made for children or teenagers. So the language is designed to be easily understood in most cases. But because they're fun and easy to understand and addictive, when you're playing a game, you normally don't have any stress that affects you in the real world. You might get stressed a little bit by not being able to beat this boss for a few hours. Then you just go on Wikipedia and find a cheat and then go kick his butt. But it's not stressful because it's a game. It doesn't affect your real world life. You can always cut the game off. If you don't like your character, you can always kill him off. You have many options. So you just you can just play around with it any way that you want. If you're tired of talking to an NPC, you can leave. If you're tired of talking to your boss in a business situation, you might not necessarily be able to do that. So video games are a very relaxing way for you to study your language. And since most video games have voiceover and subtitles, you can just talk to NPCs all day long, and you can listen to their conversation. Now, if you're playing an English video game, these are native speed, native level speakers who are talking to you all day long, right? You're listening to their conversation. You're hearing their pronunciation. You're watching their body language in a lot of cases. Because a lot of games now, with the technology that we have, use real people for motion capture. So it's a very good way to study like different other skills besides just speaking and listening. So now the reason I'm a heavy advocate of this is because this is how I learned Japanese. Now I speak about business level Japanese, and the reason why I speak Japanese is because my study methods are not traditional. So I was a foreign exchange student before in Japan, but before I came to Japan, I didn't speak Japanese at all. I had never studied it. So how did Walter learn Japanese? Well, I did go to a Japanese high school. However, I was a very bad student. So I was never in school. I had Japanese classes I only attended one time because I couldn't understand what the teacher was saying, so I started skipping school and going to manga kisaten. Right? So the way I learned Japanese wasn't through textbooks and wasn't through like traditional study. If you give me a textbook in Japanese and tell me to study, I'm going to look at it, I'm going to laugh at you, and I'm going to put it in the garbage can because it's boring for me. I can't study that way. So the way I learned Japanese was this. I used to go to manga kisaten, and I would like study by reading manga. Like I would read something like one of my favorite manga at the time was Dragon Ball. So I'm still a huge manga fan. So this is how I started learning to read Japanese. Then I was in every after school club. So after my bukatsu, I would run home. I was in the kendo club and judo club, so I made a lot of friends who could not speak English. So basically, I would just talk to them all day long in Japanese, and eventually my Japanese became good enough to carry conversations with them. Then, after Kendo Club, I would run home because Dragon Ball came on at 7 o'clock. So I would go and I would watch TV and I would watch anime like Dragon Ball, Yu Yu Hakusho, Ninku, everything that was interesting. And I would just sit there for hours watching these. Then on the weekends, normally I was at a game center and I would be playing Japanese video games. And then once I found a few games that were kind of RPG style, like with my friends, and we would play those. But I realized that in order to win the game, I had to understand the language. So instead of like going to school and like getting textbooks and stuff like that, I learned using a natural study method by playing around with stuff that I was interested in. And that's still how I study Japanese today. My Japanese study is reading manga, watching anime, and playing video games. Like this one. This is a Japanese version of Final Fantasy 13. I only play the Japanese version because this helps me with my Japanese and my kanji reading. So I can tell you from experience that video gamers actually learn languages faster than anyone else if they're playing in a different language. I have one friend who's learned 6 different languages whose Japanese is much better than mine, actually. He's never left America, he's never gone to language school. He makes a lot of money because game companies around the world actually hire him to do stuff like a localization specialist. And he learned all of his different languages by playing video games, right? Because of the interactivity and because of the communication with groups. He plays a lot of online games. So, this method really works, and I've been using it for years. So that's why I recommend it. Now, for those of you who don't have a gaming system or who don't play video games, well, there's still different ways to study. I mean, there are hundreds and thousands of types of video games. Role-playing games are the best. But if you're not a gamer, you can still find ways to kind of play around with this. What you can do, what I recommend to some students is, remember, video games have a story. So, if you go to YouTube, you can watch video game walkthroughs. And these are people who are actually playing through the game for you so that you don't have to play it. And you can just watch the videos of each game, of a game that's interesting, and you can get a lot of language study. You'll still be missing the feedback and the interactive section of it, right? So you're not going to get that, but it's still very good for your listening and your reading skills if the game has subtitles. So, that's why I think that video games are the best study method because you're constantly interacting with them, you're living a new life in the game, and they're completely stress-free, and you're just gaining so much knowledge without even thinking about language study. Your goal is just, I want to win. I want to play the game. I need this, right? And those are important factors for improving in any language, really. So I know that some of you are still having a hard time believing that video games can be an effective English study method. And you're like, but it's just a game. How can I get real world English skills from a game? Now, for those of you who think that, what I want you to do is I want you to stop, and I don't want you to think of it as a game. I want you to look at the skills that are involved in what you're doing. So when you're playing a video game, first you have to understand the language. If you're playing an English video game, basically you're listening to native speed English from native English speakers. So a lot of the situations, even though the story might be fantasy, a lot of the language and a lot of the situations that your character will find themselves in involve real world daily conversational English, or in some cases even business English. So you are getting like a real world English conversation. It's just a story, might have like dragons and like fairies or fantasy elements in it. That doesn't mean that the language isn't effective though, because you still have to do the same thing that you would do in the real world. And not only are you getting real daily conversational English at least, you're also learning real world skills. A good example of this is that in a role-playing game, well, you have to eat. You have to find food in a lot of games. You have to sleep. So even skills like getting directions. When you're playing a game, you don't know where to go. You don't know where the next town is, or you don't know where to buy certain things. So you have to talk to an NPC. The NPC will give you directions. Go this way, go over the mountain to the east, and you will find this town. Or go straight down the street, take a left, walk 2 blocks up, and you will find the weapons store. If you don't understand the directions, then you can't make it to the store and you can't buy what you want. Also, like you have to, and most games have a money system. So you have to make money somehow. So your money can be made by like fighting and killing monsters, or you might have a job. Either way, you have to get money, in-game money, and you have to spend money in a lot of cases to buy weapons or buy magic spells or like recruit team members or something. So there is a functional monetary system in most games, just like your job. When you go to work, your purpose for working is to get money. Your purpose for getting money is to spend money on something. So that's why I say that playing an English role-playing game is just like being a foreign exchange student, except for it's just cheaper and you don't have to buy a plane ticket, right? And it's less stressful because it doesn't really affect your real life. So another interesting fact that I want you to think about is that some of our most successful business leaders in the world today didn't learn their skills by going to college. A lot of them either didn't go to college or dropped out of college and still went on to create some of the most successful businesses in the world. How did they learn their business skills? A lot of them learned their business skills by playing video games, like especially online games. Like you can learn group management by playing a game like World of Warcraft, where you have to get friends and you have to make groups. You're not making groups to make money or to run a business. You're making groups so that you don't get killed by this big monster in the forest. But you still have to recruit people. You still have to know their skills, and you still have to manage a team. Another good game for building business skills is like StarCraft. A lot of people learn business management skills and logistics from playing games like StarCraft, or even like games like EVE Online. So like what I'm saying is that there are a lot of hidden skills that you can get from playing video games, not just language skills. Like they extend to other areas. So don't just think of video games as a quick and easy way to study English. Look for these other hidden skills that are involved, and learn how to use them. So if you do that, you'll discover that role-playing games and like games such as this have a lot to offer besides just language study. So what I'm going to do from here on out is I'm actually going to show you how this works. And I'll show you by playing a video game in a little bit. So I'll cut this off and I'll start the game up and then I'll be back. Okay, this is Walter, the English Conversation Doctor, coming back to you again with the second part of why video games are the best study method for English. Now, I'm going to do a quick demo of how this works by playing a game on Xbox called Blue Dragon. And actually, this is how my son, my oldest son, studies English. So my oldest son was born in Japan, and his default language, his native tongue is Japanese, of course. But when I want him to study English, I don't give him English lessons. I'm lazy. So normally what I do is I let him watch English TV, or I'll let him play a video game. Sometimes I let him play Japanese games, but I try to keep most of his gameplay in English, just because he'll pick up more of the language that way. So some of these games are very, very interesting, and this is an old game, but I decided to use this one because the language in it is designed for children, so it should be easier for you to understand. So instead of me talking, let's just play the game. So I've got to hit start, and I'll go with my memory unit. And we're going to start a new game. Now I want you to pay very close attention to some of the points to some of the things I'm going to point out while I'm doing this, right? And it's taking a little bit longer to load than I thought. All right. So as I mentioned, video games have a story. And so, I'll let you watch a brief little intro movie of this, not too long. Let me cut the sound up a bit. So here's our hero here, and basically this is you in the game. Right. So here we go. Now, is anybody feeling any stress right now? I mean, does anybody say, oh my god, this character, he's so cute, please cut the game off. I can't stand it. Probably not, right? This looks pretty fun. So I'm going to run around, jump in the water. And I have to head down to my town. And the graphics in this are actually pretty good. So this is a visually appealing game. If it's visually appealing and if it's something that you like to watch, then you're just going to keep playing this forever until you're finished. Wait a minute, why is this in Japanese? Okay, I think I switched it over to Japanese so that I could play it. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and play through it in Japanese since it's not switched over to English. Yeah, I'm playing under my account, not my son's account. But either way, it's still pretty good, so. So this is where the story begins. Got a little bit of drama going on here, but we still don't know what exactly happening. So this is where we have to listen and pay attention to what's going on. Jizame, that means sand shark. And he's yelling for some kid named Shun. So if I don't understand any of this, if I don't understand the language, it's going to be kind of hard for me to figure out what's happening in some parts. But the good thing about video games is that it's all pictures. It's a movie. So I can get a lot of information from other sources like, for example, body movement or just the environment. So even facial expression. So I know something's wrong because everybody looks kind of, well, disturbed. playable. So, let's see. What do I need to do? Okay, I've got this old guy here who's like standing around, so this must be my character for now. So, I need to go talk to people. I don't know this lady. This is just like meeting a foreigner on the street. I don't know her, but I'm going to talk to her anyway. And her name is Toyote. Strange name. Okay, so if I don't understand what she's talking about, then like it's going to be a little bit difficult for me to make it to the next section or to find out where I need to go. So what I'm going to do quickly, since this video is getting long, is I'm just going to kind of run around and like talk to all these people. Yeah, so this is me, just like playing around with this guy. And I'm trying to speed this up because it's not in English, and you guys can read Japanese already anyway. I've already talked to her. But as I'm doing this, eventually somebody is going to give me some valuable information about what to do next. London. Alright. Nada. Yeah. Quiet your baby kid. Alright. Okay, come on. Let's go. Fauna, stop crying. Jiro no Otou-san. Okay, right now I don't know who Jiro is because I haven't seen him. But he must be important because I'm talking to his dad. Okay, so I just found out from reading that section that Shun is actually this old guy's grandson. I didn't know that. So they've been experiencing these like sand sharks popping up for about 10 years. Okay, so I still need to go find somebody. Ah, now this is where voiceover comes in. So he just spoke to me. And when I look down... Now see, since this game has voiceover, I can, if I am smart, I can actually start shadowing these characters. I mean, like, I might not want to sound like an old guy, but this is still a good way. This is still a very good way to learn the language. Okay. Now I'm playable, and this is where the gameplay comes in. So, I have to do certain things in order to... I think I'm going to have to go fight this shark. Ah. Okay, so they've got a little plan already. He understands. Aha, they didn't know that their son was down there. He's going to try to go beat a sand shark. Wow, he's a good father, but he had no faith in his kid at all. Good idea. So try it anyway. Alright, now this is where the gameplay comes in. So there has to be a procedure. Well, here's the menu. Okay, I haven't seen that before. So, if I can't read any of these, then I'm just going to be randomly picking stuff, and my character is probably going to die. So, I need to be able to read. Tatakao, that means fight. Okay, I have a sword, maybe I can fight with it. But if I can't read the menu, then I can't play the game. Oh, that sucks. Alright, then we'll go. That means defend. Okay, yeah, he's got a pretty strong attack. He just hit me twice. Can't do that. Alright, so let me try to finish this guy off. Oh yeah, so he's having a hard time because this thing's pretty hard. Yeah, so that means that there has to be another way to beat this enemy. But if I can't read this, I cannot find a way to beat him. That's why it's important for me to be able to understand the language. Alright, Jiro, shoot. Oh, okay, so he's telling me to... I'm translating this to English. But he's telling me to attack the red point. Okay, the red light. Okay, so... boom. If I live long enough, I will attack the red light. Right, so I've got... Right, okay, so I'll attack this. Now, if I don't attack the red light, like he told me to, then my character is going to get defeated, he's going to die, and I cannot win the game. So this is where understanding the language and like being able to read or listen to what they have to say accurately comes into play. And if I make a mistake, then if my character dies, that's basically my fault. Yeah, that's just what I was thinking. Okay, I think his friend is right when he was telling them to run away. Okay, so like this is just like some of the gameplay. Now, is anybody feeling bored yet? Anybody want to give up and go home? Probably not, right? Because this looks pretty interesting. So we're not going to play through the whole game because, like I said, this thing is hours long. But this just gives you an idea of how interactivity can help you improve your language skills. So I have to talk over her. Her name is Pooh. And she wants revenge. Okay, so I think we're going to stop the demo for here, so that because I think you get a general idea of how this goes. But as you keep playing this game, you're going to keep getting more. If you were playing this, if I were playing this game in English, I would be getting more and more exposure to the language while I'm going through each section. I would be listening. I would be like actually interacting with the characters. I would have to read more. So that means that eventually my language skills would have to improve in order for me to win this game. So if I kept doing this every day, then by the end of this game, depending on how long it is, my Japanese speaking and reading skills should be pretty fluent, at least fluent enough to play this game. Now, occasionally there's going to be some words or some, like, maybe some kanji, in my case, that I don't understand. The good thing about this game is that if you'll notice the game is not moving right now, that's because I haven't selected an option. So, I can just pause the screen or leave the game right here, and this gives me time to get a dictionary or to Google Translate what I don't know. So, for example, if I don't know the kanji nigeru, if I can't read that, I can just go online or like maybe even ask a friend of mine what this means, and they can give me the answer. So, role-playing game has a lot of pauses that actually give you time to research and find the answers that you need. And then, once I've found the answer and once I know what to do, then I can just hit the A button and continue, right? So, like, when I'm watching a TV show, the TV show just keeps talking and talking until the TV show is finished. But when I'm playing a video game, it's not necessarily the case. I have time to look things up and make sure that I understand before I can continue in a lot of cases. Right? So I think we're going to end the demo from here, and this video is going to be about maybe 30 minutes long. But I just wanted to show you this and like give you a feel for playing a video game. And as I mentioned, there are tons of video games for you to play, not just this one. So you can download video games from the App Store, or you can buy a PlayStation 3. But any game that you try to play, try to make sure that it has a long story, and that it's an English game. And this will help you with your language study, guaranteed. So with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this off and get to editing this video. So I will see you all in the next lesson. Bye.